Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 10, episode 2. I am Ken-ough. I'm gonna start by saying this, and some of you may disagree with me. Put it down below, but I am over Trish, Ken, and Marquez. I do not like the way that Ken has managed to involve himself in this situation the way that he has. I'm not knocking the fact that he shows up for these kids. I think that that's great, but I said it before and I'll say it again. A man that continuously points that out to me, I'm side eyeing him because are you really doing it for the right reasons? Because it often seems to me like he keeps mentioning it because he wants praise for doing so. I do not like how he overinserts himself. I feel like he is causing more problem here because at the end of the day, whether he likes it or not, all he is the boyfriend because that is still a married woman. And Marquez and Trish are the reason why this situation has gotten to the point where it has. But let me go ahead and rant about that later on. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this. We open up with Trish and Ken meeting up with Kimmy and Maurice to talk about Marquez. I cannot wait to see what their dynamic, what their storyline is going to be once he is gone, because this is all they seem to have to talk about. And it's old. It's getting old. What else can you give us? You supposedly want to do this gym situation. Let's see what that looks like. He drives trucks and whatever else. Let's see what that looks like. But to keep on sitting here watching the two of you, it's draining to me. This episode was not enjoyable to me. I very much so enjoyed last week's, but this one annoyed me again. Ken says Marquez is frustrating because every time he thinks things are good, something happens. This is when we find out that Trish did know that Marquez was going to get Zara because he said that he was going to get her. So it wasn't a surprise that he was there. The surprise for her was that he walked into her home. She says that he came bursting through the door. I would not use the word burst, but I will say that he did walk in uninvited, right? We're going to call a thing a thing. She claims that he immediately got hostile with her friend Sharon, and I think that it was a little combination of both. I think that he got hostile with Sharon and Sharon got hostile with him. I think she was snappy and that she was looking for a moment as well. Because what was the point in having her be there? Why does Sharon have to keep coming on to your home when he is there or when you know he's coming? It makes it seem to me like Trisha's kind of like creating her own little scene here, but that could just be me because I don't like the girl. So Maurice says it's hard to give advice to them when the children are involved. All he can say is that they're gonna have to try hard not to have contention, that you're gonna co-parent for the rest of your life, so it needs to be like a decent relationship. I don't think that they have to co-parent for the rest of their lives because at some point these children will be adults. I think that they will both be parenting for the rest of their life, and there will be certain times where they may have to speak to one another, but they don't have to parent together. They have to for right now, but they don't have to later on. Ken does this thing that he always does, which is point out that he is more present than Marquez, that the principal doesn't know Marquez, that the teachers don't know Marquez, that they don't see him, they see Ken. We know that Marquez, Kez, whoever, wasn't even living in the area, but I understand what Ken is saying with that. Ken is letting it be known that he is more active in the lives of these children, and he doesn't have to keep saying it. We know. Your actions speak for themselves, right? Maurice says, no matter what, he is their father. At the end of the day, there's something that has to happen. I think that if Trish would get a divorce and if an arrangement was in place, that boundaries would have been set a long time ago. I think until then, with the way that Marquez operates, sorry, I keep pronouncing his name wrong, the way that he operates, there is always going to be this little spot in his mind that thinks that he has a chance with her. And I say that because some of the conversations that he has later on, we'll get to it. So Ken says Marquez needs to respect that this is his family. Y'all let me know what you think down below, but I don't think that it's his family. I think that Ken needs to respect that those are his kids. I don't think, as much as he says it, I don't think that he respects that they are his kids because of the role that Marquez has not played in these children's lives. I think that had he been more involved, had he been more present, had he sent financing and all those other things, I think he would respect him more. But Ken doesn't have any respect for him. And that's okay that he doesn't. He doesn't deserve admiration for the things that he hasn't done. But at the same point, I don't feel like Ken deserves a gold star either, because he's on my nerves. Y'all, I need to calm down. He's really, really on my nerves. Like it's something about Ken, and maybe it's because he reminds me a lot of the way that my stepfather was. And let me be clear, my father was very, very present, but my father was military, and he was out a lot at sea and things of that nature. And I think that because of that my stepfather felt like he just had this role. And Ken often reminds me of that with the air that he has about himself. So we see Martell is out furniture shopping for his investment property, and Martell decides to invite Destiny. He goes from that to talking about Ariane and how he's going to be moving Ariane, his words, his son and her daughter, not their son, his son and her daughter, into his investment crib, as he's calling it. And at first I thought, why he keeps saying he's moving them into his investment spot? Why doesn't he just say that he's moving them in? But it's because they aren't moving in with him. They're moving into that space that was supposed to be an investment property. He's not going to be living there. I said it last week, like, side chicks of the world unite, because the girl is moving in and she's getting the things that she's wanted all along, which is to be claimed on this television show by this man. But I don't understand why she's not out shopping with him for furniture. To me, it's clear in this instance, you're just trying to film a scene. So she went from being a peasant to now being wifey material, because he says he's looking at rings, that she takes care of him, that she cooks, that she respects him, and that she makes sure that the family is good. Martell is acting like we haven't seen things, like it's like he's rewriting history, like Ariane hasn't gone on IG and other places and spoken about you and how you did things and the things that you didn't do. She's alluded to some things. Tisha wasn't the only person, but we're going to now act like she always respects him. You've mentioned things that she did that upset you, but now I guess it's different because she's on your good side. So he tells Destiny that, he's taking his time. He doesn't want to do like he did before, where he just moves her in, because Destiny's like, at some point, like, it's been long enough. Men should already know what he's going to do. And he says, he's taking his time. He's still getting over, his divorce. Like, it's fresh every day. It's very, very fresh for him. He's acting like this just happened. And Destiny is looking at him like he's crazy, because this isn't something new. She's like, you need to seek help. I already told you a while ago that you need to seek help. And he doesn't understand why she would say that, because he feels like they're in a similar situation. Destiny doesn't talk as much about her ex as you do. It's clear that you aren't in the same situation. So we find out that Destiny is moving Madani from upstairs, where it was in the storage unit, to now being downstairs. So it will be a better look, I guess, and look less like a storage place and more like a store. They talk about Lance. She says that they dated, but it never became more. She doesn't feel like he was ready for a relationship. Obviously not, because at the time of them dating, wasn't he still married? So yeah, he's not going to be ready for a relationship when he's still a married man. I'm just saying. Y'all tell me what you think down below. So we go from that to Scott Manor after all these years, because they started on Scott Manor in 2019. We get to the 10-acre purchase of up 200 feet of elevation, that they had to put in 500 yards of concrete and blow out boulders and all these other things, and have these 18-inch steel beams that are extremely high in the sky. All of this for Scott Manor. Marceau says all of this to let us know that this is not going to be a house, that this is a mansion. And I hope that they finish that mansion in time for at least the girls to live in it, because at this age, MJ's not going to live in it at the pace that they're going. He says that they got the hardest part done, which was getting all that stuff done, for the elevation. I will say they are very, very high up, because the trees, like, they're not very far from being level with the trees. I think that once it's done, it's going to be beautiful. It really, really is. I actually wouldn't mind seeing more of that project. So Tisha arrives with the kids, and she's so excited to see that they've actually finally accomplished more on this thing, that she can see the foundation being laid. We find out that all of their kids are 4.0 students, and that MJ wants to go to school where his father is from, which is Michigan. Marceau thinks it's a great idea. Tisha wants him to be close to home. They talk about the different projects that he's working on. Currently, they're finishing up with a different house as well. They're also working on Jordan Lane, and he's saying that part of what is keeping things slower is that Maurice and Kimmy are not on the same page when it comes to the project. That Kimmy will tell him one thing, and then Maurice would tell him another. So they're telling him different things, so he doesn't know which way to go. And Tisha's like, you need to listen to Kimmy. Like, if you're going to listen to anybody, listen to Kimmy. I think that the same way that they operate when it comes to what they want to do with their home is the same way that they operate when it comes to what they do in life. There's a lot of times where they seem to kind of bump heads to me, or like have varying opinions, and I don't know what the middle ground really looks like for them. So Tisha says, like, why you over there talking about all of that? The project that you really need to be working on is mine. Like, what's going on with my office? I really wanted my office to be up, because she's going to do like a broker office with the mortgage company and all that stuff in there, I'm guessing. So he tells her, give me 30 business days and it will be done. I want to know if it's done. Now that he said that, I halfway want to go look on the page to see. So after all that she's been through, she's like, they've had a lot of deaths and a lot of things like that. And, we've had a lot of losses. And for 2025, I just want things to be better. I want us to celebrate. And of course, when they do celebrate, she wants to invite her mother, especially because her mother is finally doing some things too. Apparently her food truck is finally, ready to go. So we see Maurice meet up with Marquez. It's the same conversation with some different things that his brother Marceau had with him last year. I am over this. This is what made me not. It was too much clownery on this episode. Too much Trisha, too much Maurice, not Maurice, too much Marquez, too much Ken, too much of them. So Marquez informs Maurice that when he went to go sign the divorce papers, he noticed that they didn't have the children's names. It said they didn't have any minor children. And he felt like him signing that would later mean that he had to prove that he had kids with her. I don't understand all of that. Later on, we see that it was a lie, but whatever. He once again talks about Trish and how difficult she's made things. He says that Ken reached out to him. He thought that Ken had motives at first, but after a couple hours of talking, he's like, I get why Trish loves that man. So he's like, it's because Ken is like her dad, and that's all she wanted, and I couldn't be her dad, and that's why it didn't work. And Maurice is looking at him like, come on, bro, like it's more, it's so much more to that. It's so much more than you not being like her father. I'll tell you what it is. Both of these people were very immature and still are very immature. Trish and Marquez are too mature immature individuals who had children together, who were young when they got together, and they still operate very much so like they are in high school rather than people who are in their 30s and 40s. I'm not sure what their age is, but I know that they don't act like they're 30 and 40-year-olds, not in my opinion. And the other problem is, as much as Marquez Kez is saying that he wants to let go, the ninja doesn't want to let go. He doesn't. It's clear he doesn't want to let go, because if he did, he would have signed those papers. So he tells him that he needs to see, he's like, look, you got to see what all you've done in this situation with your wife. You got to see what you've done with Trish. He says that what he did was he messed up because he didn't leave a long time ago. Like, he wanted to leave the first year of marriage. Your kids are going to see this at some point, and they're going to think that you're like horrible. Because why would you even begin to say that? I just, like, when he said it, I cringe. He then said his dad told him, I think he said like around the time they were getting married, that they wouldn't even last 5 years. And he just got to the point where he wanted to prove his father wrong. But at some point, I think he said 10 years, he didn't want it at all anymore. If he didn't want it, as I said earlier, why aren't those papers signed? Why are you still married to this woman? Y'all don't have any common property. So what is he holding on to? He claims Trish is the one who doesn't want the divorce, that he gave her to Ken, that if he wanted her back, that he could have her. This man is delusional. Delusional. But the way that he's able to get under her skin, the way that she argues with him, does not help the situation, because he is the type of person who associates her getting upset with her still caring about him. It actually makes him feel like she still cares and that they could get back together, but she doesn't. I think that she likes the push and pull of it all, but at the end of the day, I don't think she wants to be with him, but I do think that she still holds anger and resentment towards him. So she very much so enjoys arguing with this man. But let me be clear, I don't think she wants Ken either. I don't think she sees endgame with Ken. I don't know how long she's going to string Ken along, but I don't see her and Ken getting married either. So he says in an ideal world, his son would move in with him. He would be there to support his daughter, and they could get to the point where they have the type of family dynamic where they can go on vacation with the kids, and he can invite his spouse as well. I think, or his partner, his girlfriend, he says, I think that he's a clown. I think that he's living in another world. And Maurice does too, because he lets him know, like, she's no longer your best friend. That's not realistic. That's not how it works. End scene. So we see MJ in the car with his mom. It's his birthday. He is now 18. Tisha is trying to enjoy the moments that she has left with him because he does want to go away to college. She tells him if he goes all the way to Michigan, that she's going to get a townhouse near him and try to be out there every week. And we know she's joking, but I'm just saying. She says that she wants to call him every day, that she's worried, and he's like, he's not. She wants to know if he's gonna miss his dad, and he's like, yeah. And she's like, are you gonna miss, you know, me? And I can't remember the way that he said it, but he basically said he's gonna miss his dad a little bit more than her, because to him, he says his father is a pillar and his mom is that line that keeps him straight. Now, Tisha says that it's because she's the enforcer, and she's the one that runs the house and all those other things, while Marceau gets to be the fun parent, joking and playing games. But I think that there's a little bit more there. I think that as men, iron sharpens iron, and they're able to have conversations that he may not be able to have with his mother. I'm sure they talk about girls and things of that nature that may be a little bit different. Like, I know my son doesn't come to me with everything. I know he goes to my brother and to my dad about some stuff. And I'm more than okay with that, because I know that those are solid individuals who will lead him the right way. And my cousin that he looks like an uncle, like, they have other men sometimes that they, go to. I don't think that there's a comparison. I just think that there's a different dynamic. And I wonder what he's like off camera, because for him to say that his son is a pillar, I was like, oh, Marceau. Like, Marceau is a jerk a lot of times. I don't always like how he is with Tisha. He makes me laugh sometimes. I think that he has some stuff with him, but I can appreciate the fact that his son called him a pillar. And I kind of wish we got to dive into that a little bit more, because what is it that we aren't seeing? Because I don't know why, but I always assumed, because of how they were in the beginning, that Tisha was always with the kids and he wasn't. So for him to now be calling him a pillar, what does that mean to him? These are just what I'm thinking in my head. You tell me what you think. So Tisha lets him know that no matter where he goes and where he moves to, what he becomes, that their home will always be a safe space for him. I love that. And he's always welcome to come home. All right. Ken and Trish. In my opinion, some of this is for the cameras, some of it is not. There's absolutely no reason, in my opinion, for Sharon to be at this house with this conversation with Marquez and Ken. I also feel like, because Trish said that she called her over there so that he can apologize, that if you think that he should apologize, she could have given an apology as well. Because to be fair, she said some things even though she never met that man before. Now, Ken says that this whole conversation is because he wants to set boundaries and let people understand their roles. I said it before and I'll say it again. Ken is too involved. I wrote in my notes, Trish should handle this on her own. Marquez rings the doorbell and the ninja walks in. Is he walking in because he knows the cameras are there? Because I don't understand why he keeps doing this. He says hello. He says he sees them drinking and he asks for a drink. They at no time give him a drink. He asks for a drink multiple times and they at no time give him a drink. He talks about the incident Ken does with Kim and Sharon and how it set them back, that they need boundaries. Marquez is like, we should have had them years ago before anyone came into the picture. Trish doesn't feel like they needed them because she wasn't present, whatever. So Trish says, you came into my house uninvited. He says, all right, boundary set. I'll call and I'll knock. I wish that they would have left it at that. But of course, that wasn't enough. To me, it should have ended right there. If get a parenting plan in place. Y'all talking about boundaries and all those other things. If you want to really set a boundary, let him know he's not welcome in your home unless you invite him in. I mean, like, come on now. But to me, they wanted to chastise him more. And y'all tell me what you think. And let me be clear. I think that Marquez is a crappy father. I think that he allowed the situation with him and her to affect the way that he parented his kids. I think that he did like what some people do, and to get back at the moms, they fall back. And I do not like that. I don't. I think it's wrong. So he says that that particular day when he walked in, his daughter had drinks and a whole bunch of bags, and he wanted to help his daughter in the house. He apologizes. Trish and him are going back and forth. He gets up because Sharon walks in, shakes her hand because now she's there. He apologizes to her, explains what happened in his mind, asks her if she liked to sit down. She says, yes, thank you. They shake hands. It seems to me like that should be the end of him and Sharon. But him and Trish continue to go back and forth. And at some point, he tells Trish she doesn't care about the kids and that she's broken. Don't tell that lady that she doesn't care about their kids. Now, is she broken? Yeah, she a little broken, but you are too. And you can't say those things and think that they're not going to have a reaction to it. So Ken tells him that he said it to her as well before. They need to stop bringing the kids into it. I do appreciate him saying that. I do, because they bring the kids into it at the wrong point, because they even did it last episode where both of them were looking at the son like he was supposed to jump in and say something, right? Now, Marquez is saying that the kids are affected by all of this. Ken is saying that they are not. Xavier he says, may miss having a certain type of relationship with you, but they aren't hurt or going through it. Ken, I think you're wrong. I don't think that you can speak to what those kids are going through because honestly, they're not going to tell you everything. I like to think that I have a very open relationship with my son. We talk about a lot of things. And I remember when we were in a counseling session and he told the therapist some things. And when it was time for us to be in our session together, where we kind of unpack some of those things, that there were some things that he did not tell me, right? I think that that is the same situation that's happening here. I think that they know everything about those kids when no parent truly knows everything. And I'm sure that y'all talk crap about that man all the time. You don't know how any of this affects the kids because the son does seem like he's bothered by it. We saw how he responded when he had to tell his dad to go outside when his parents were going back and forth. Now, Marquez says the kids are telling him things, which means they may actually be telling him things, but you never know because all of these people are liars. So Ken says, I'm the active one. I'm the one who does this. I'm the one that does that. That these may be your kids, but this is my family. My thoughts on this. Y'all can disagree. Put it down below what you think. I do feel like Ken should look at them like they are his family. I do. But what makes me struggle with him saying that they're his family is this woman is still married to this man. In all actuality, I don't think Trish is putting I wouldn't be in this situation. I would not be married and have a man living in my house acting like he's going to be a father figure for my kids. I think that it's giving them mixed messages. That's my personal feelings. He has not married this woman. She is still married to that man, her husband. You are not anything but the boyfriend. You've been in their life for what, 2 years? Because first we heard y'all knew each other for 5. Then it was you've been together for 2. You're doing too much for me. Other people may disagree, but I feel very strongly about the fact that he's doing too much. And it reminds me a lot of the way that my stepfather jumped in and tried to do too much, even though he didn't have grounds, because my father was very present, very active when he could be. And I say when he could be because, as I said, he was deployed. And back then, it wasn't as easy as it is now to make video calls and all those other things. Like, we got excited when we could email him and get a response a week later. So like it bothers me because he's not trying to replace him, but he does things that makes me feel like he is trying to replace him. It's just my thoughts. It's just might be my personal stuff. Y'all tell me what you think. So he's like, when he says this, because of course you're saying that that's your family, those are his kids. He's like, you the bonus guy. You her boyfriend, right? Ken then starts talking about all the things that he's done yet again. Because if Ken doesn't do anything else, when he argues, that's what he's going to do. He did the same thing to Trish last season when he got mad about her and was talking about how I got to go fix your broke down car that's sitting over there at the apartment complex now. And he's like, she said, my brother can do it. And he talks about how he pays all the bills and da da da. He's very much so a person who could it at some point, if he gets there, be financially abusive with someone because he flexes with his money. So Marquez is like, you talking about how you did this and you did that. Didn't I give you $500? Ken says, you don't get cool points for doing what you're supposed to do. I agree. He doesn't. I also feel like y'all give this man a chance to do whatever it is that you claim you want him to do. He's back in the area. See what he does. But y'all keep having these same conversations over and over again about the same crap isn't helping the situation. It's making it worse. It is. So Marquez is like, well, you don't get cool points for doing what you do either. You live here. Oh, God. Ken then tells Marquez he needs to be real with himself. Marquez flips it back and says Trish needs to be real with herself, that she's the common denominator in this. I do agree with that. She is the common denominator in all of this. because Ken should have never had this much say so, this much power, this much interaction with this man. If you yourself can't figure your stuff out, it's not going to help by adding in a third person. The both of you all should have figured that out first. And Ken now feels like he has disrespected his woman. And in my mind, Ken feels like can't nobody disrespect his woman but him. So they get to talking about this paperwork and the divorce. Trish goes to get the paperwork to show that he's lying. The kids' names are on there. They're taking the paper. I don't have a piece of paper, but they taking the paper and they're like, look, you see it? You see it? Here it is. Here it is. Taking turns, like basically having the paper inches away from his face to show him this. So he gets up and he's like, look, the energy is off. He's getting up like he's about to leave. Of course, Ken tells him to get out. Then he stands up again, shaking the paper in his face. He tells him that he's disrespectful. And Ken's like, you disrespectful walking up in my house without being let in. It was disrespectful. We're not going to lie there. But Ken, why you didn't say that when he did it, when you were like, when he was coming in? You made a little comment, but you could have like, yo, dude, like, let us come and open the door. Like, don't just walk in. There's a way you could have did it. So he's walking away because he's like, are y'all really about to do this? He's looking at production and the camera crew basically and saying this. And now Ken is charging, acting like he's about to hit him, and it's to be continued. I didn't like this episode, as I said earlier. I'm okay with a little bit of drama, but when it gets to this point where it's so much back and forth that I'm sitting here like I'm not about to write all this crap in my notes. And when I'm looking at them like every last one of y'all are clowns, I kind of check out. If I'm being honest. I'm still looking forward to the season though. If there's something that I did not talk about that you want to mention, feel free to put it down below. That's all I got. Like the video as it helps the channel. Until next time.